Just last week, the Philippines received some piece of good news in the form of a credit rating upgrade. Standard & Poor's Global, one of the world's most reputable credit rating agencies, raised the Philippines credit rating from BBB to BBB plus credit rating with a stable outlook. This is the best rating the country has ever achieved. Let me explain how this credit rating upgrade will contribute to achieving and sustaining our middle-income country status. Credit ratings reflect the ability of a country to manage and pay back its debt. Standard & Poor's upgrade last week indicates that the Philippine government has further improved on its ability to pay back its long-term debt. A higher investment-grade credit rating also signals to international investors that the Philippines is now a more attractive investment destination. The result is that investors will require lower rates of interest and returns for Philippine bonds and stocks, making financing cheaper for us. The private sector can also more easily and affordably tap international sources of funding when they borrow from overseas sources. The upgrade is a green light to invest more in our fast-growing economy. More foreign direct investment means more jobs, increased productivity, higher incomes for our people. Foreign direct investments will help us sustain our rapid growth and make it more inclusive. The Philippines received its first credit rating in 1993 under former President Fidel V. Ramos. The BB minus rating received back then was below investment grade, indicating that investing in the Philippines was very risky. You will also see in the chart that while credit ratings can improve as they did under the terms of former Presidents Ramos and Estrada, they can also go down as they did under former President Arroyo's term. The Philippines credit rating reached investment grade for the first time in May 2013 with a BBB minus rating. This was followed by another upgrade in May 2014 to BBB, which reflects a relatively good ability to meet our obligations. The Philippines remained in BBB for the next 5 years until a week ago when we received a BBB plus rating with a stable outlook from Standard & Poor's. This higher investment grade rating is just one step away from the sterling A rating territory. This is a definitive win for the Duterte administration. The Philippines has grown at an impressively rapid rate over the past decade, outpacing many countries, and the S&P believes that we will continue to achieve above-average growth. The S&P report validates the soundness of Duterte administration's aggressive spending program to address the infrastructure gap. This is especially important given that inadequate infrastructure is among the major deal breakers for investors and is one of the biggest constraints to achieving our goal of inclusive growth and poverty reduction. S&P also noted in its report that the tax reform program has increased our ability to fund public investments with less reliance on borrowing. When we do borrow, we prioritize official development assistance or ODA as it is cheaper and has longer terms of repayment as opposed to borrowing from private capital markets. S&P expressed confidence in the government's quick and decisive steps to tame inflation when it temporarily spiked last year. As a result of the government's swift action, the inflation rate began to decelerate in January and further slowed down to only 3% in April, which is well within our target. The current account deficit was also viewed by S&P as a positive development since it is largely investment-driven. This is due to an increase in imported machinery and equipment for use in the Build program. The International Debt Watcher, S&P, also cited our young, educated, and skilled workforce as one of the Philippines' competitive advantages. This is almost certainly why services exports continue to boost our economy. It's a virtuous cycle, and we should sustain investments in education and healthcare to make sure that we reap the maximum benefits of our competitive edge. Following the success of the Train Law in lowering personal income taxes and bolstering revenues, the passage of the Trabajo Bill and other tax reform package will complete the process of making our tax system fairer, simpler, and more efficient. To further strengthen the economy and increase institutional effectiveness, S&P also noted the importance of ensuring the timely approval of subsequent budgets. Moreover, increased participation in the capital markets, which the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the Bureau of Treasury have made a priority, is seen as a very positive signal. Generally, S&P is telling us that we need to continue strengthening governance, policy, and reform measures. The upgrade puts the Philippines above countries like Italy and Portugal, and just a notch below countries like Spain and Malaysia. Italy and Portugal rank below us because of their heavy debt burdens relative to the size of their economies and weak external financial positions. It is important to note that the institutional investors already considered us single A rated, and are willing to accept lower interest rates to invest in our products. They believe we can do it, and we must show them that indeed we can. The credit rating upgrade is a direct result of President's choosing to invest his political capital wisely in difficult but game-changing reforms such as the Train Law and the Rice Tariffication Act. Even when critics were noisy, President Duterte chose to throw his full support behind meaningful reform because it would benefit the Filipino people. For this, we also recognize the efforts of the House and the Senate in passing the critical legislation, particularly legislators like former Speaker Alvarez, Congressman Fariñas, and Congressman Daxqua, as well as Senators Pimentel, Villar, and Angara. I want to emphasize that we did not pursue these reforms to get a better credit rating. This upgrade is the effect of pursuing game-changing reforms that would lead to a flourishing economy and more comfortable life for law-abiding Filipinos. President Duterte's wise investment of political capital has not only been beneficial to the country. Now the administration has more political capital with which to continue its reform agenda. Sustained high approval ratings are complemented by credible third-party affirmations of the President's decisions, such as S&P. The effect of a triple B plus rating may not be immediate, but it is very clear it is a stepping stone to our goal of achieving and sustaining upper middle income country status in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Dominguez. Deputy Governor Ginigundo.
Maraming salamat, ASEC Lambino. Let me pick up from Secretary Dominguez's important point that we did not pursue critical policy and structural reforms to improve our credit ratings. Rather, this latest upgrade to triple B plus is an outcome of pursuing what he called game-changing reforms with the biggest multiplier effects on economic growth, employment opportunities, and poverty alleviation. So what do we do with this credit upgrade, which is just one notch away from A minus? I recall in 2010 that despite the increasing number of policy and structural reforms, the credit rating agencies chose to ignore them, and using basically the same old metrics and methodologies kept us in the double B category with some stable outlook for many years. What was starkly missed out that by 2010, we had been growing positively since the first quarter of 1999. So the Philippine government and the BSP began a difficult journey of one, replicating the three methodologies used by the major credit rating agencies, two, engage them and show to them the results of their own methodologies, and three, sustain the long and increasing list of policy and structural reforms that reached a watershed under this present administration. What was the major result if one were to use the old methodologies and metrics of the credit rating agencies? Using their own methodologies, the Philippines was underrated by about 2 notches. That means at the time we should have been rated triple B minus rather than double B. When we compiled the list of legislative achievements and those still in the pipeline of both the executive and the legislative branches of government, the credit rating agencies began to notice our own little jurisdiction, where indeed game-changing reforms and macroeconomic achievements were being made. Let me share another observation. The global financial crisis of 2008-2009 broke many long traditions and orthodoxies of the credit rating agencies. The U.S., long a AAA jurisdiction, was downgraded by S&P. While Greece and Cyprus, Spain and Portugal, all members of the European Union, which were investment grades ostensibly because of their membership in the developed economies economic union, were also downgraded. Many myths and legends were unmasked, including the reality that the growth prospects of many developed economies were rather soft and that financial institutions were not appropriately supervised in a consolidated way. And fortunately, the credit rating agencies began a shift in their credit rating methodologies that resulted in the upgrades of many resilient and robust emerging markets, including the Philippines. There are two keys, therefore, to an upgrade. One non-negotiable key is the sustained, focused, and persevering pursuit of policy and structural reforms. We reap what we sow. If we pursued policies that would further strengthen and increase our potential output, including infrastructure and health and education, as this government has been doing, we shall see economic growth surging with employment opportunities and poverty alleviation, as we are seeing today. Per capita income will increase, price movements will be more modest, our external payments position will be less vulnerable to external shocks, the peso will be less volatile, investments will grow, and we shall see a virtuous cycle that would emerge in favor of our economy and our people. Then the credit rating agencies will have no choice but to notice these achievements, give credit to these efforts, and further elevate our credit ratings. The second key is that, and which is very important key as well, is to remain engaged with the credit rating agencies, actual and potential investors, market players, and international financial institutions. Credit rating agencies are doing their job with respect to hundreds of other jurisdictions vying for the same upgrade. Engaging with them at every opportunity, like the ADB meetings, the IMF spring and fall meetings, ASEAN meetings, BIS meetings, business meetings in Hong Kong, Singapore, New York, London, Frankfurt, and Zurich. We should grab every opportunity to explain to them what is happening on the ground. Let us update them of the latest economic and financial indicators, results of our own stress testing exercises. In short, as in a Miss Universe contest, we must do a Catriona swirl to be noticed, to be set apart from the rest. Because indeed, like Catriona, we have something beautiful to show them. We have a beautiful narrative of how a sub-investment jurisdiction like the Philippines was able to leapfrog to an investment grade that is now just one notch away from the A category. Then the credit rating agencies, like the judges in a beauty contest, will be able to sustain their glance and give us a gaze instead. So moving forward, our goal is to sustain our policy and structural reforms because the long agenda for our people is far from complete. We have a long way to go, many more miles to travel. We don't need a crisis or an international financial institution to tell us what to do. We know what to do. We shall be doing things for the sake of our people. If these efforts start bearing fruits that are good to eat, then the upgrade will just logically be a consequence. But we also need to tell such a beautiful narrative to the credit rating agencies, our investors alike. We are therefore embarking on an agenda called the Road to A. The idea is for the Department of Finance and the BSP to organize an interagency committee that would formalize a roadmap to articulate and systematize the Philippines' active pursuit of an A-level rating. Such a roadmap will evidence the buy-in and the commitment of key economic and infrastructure officials and agencies to get our efforts properly credited to A before 2022 to help further bring about more benefits to the economy and to our people. We shall direct our efforts in addressing the issues that were raised by S&P, by Fitch, by Moody's, and other credit rating agencies like JCRA of Japan, such as further increasing our per capita income, enhancing our potential output, strengthening our external payments buffers, keeping prices stable, fortifying public finance, and elevating governance standards. These are the plots to an interesting story. We shall then convey the story to our global audience with the assistance of the Investor Relations Office of the BSP. This office was established in 2001 precisely to raise the Philippines' credit profile through collaborative, coordinated communication among agencies of the government to promote our country as a viable investment destination. Our improving credit rating is a critical element to such an investment decision. Sama-sama po tayong lahat sa lakbayang ito para sa bayan, para sa mga mamamayang Pilipino. Maraming pong salamat.
Salamat, DG Ginigundo. Treasurer of the Philippines, Lea De Leon.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Kagaya po na nasabi na ni Secretary Dominguez at ni Deputy Governor Diwa, I'm just here para illustrate lang po sa inyo yung impact po ng upgrade. So, kung medyo balikan po natin when we issued in January our $1.5 billion bond, nakita po natin ang pricing that we got was 110 basis points over the 10-year US Treasuries. During that time, bakit 110? And if we compare it with our peers in the same neighborhood, pareho po tayong rating ng triple B lang pa tayo, so ang Indonesia then was 178 basis points over the 10-year treasuries. Colombia, ang pinepresyo po was 175, at ang Mexico na triple B plus na at that time was already even 180. So we're even cheaper than Mexico, who was then at triple B plus. So bakit nangyari to? So yung pong ating the market, yung mga investors po ng ating fixed income assets, na recognize na rin po nila yung very excellent economic stewardship ng ating gobyerno. And we have been producing and delivering the results. We have sustained higher growth, yung pong solid public finances, and very strong external position. And most importantly, we have consistently done the journey towards transformative policy reforms. So, kung iko-kumpara tayo, we are already in that vicinity of triple B plus at A minus. At sino po yung nasa ganong category? So Chile at that time, 99 basis points po ang pricing nila. Ang Peru, 99 bips rin. And of course, yung Kuwait, 93 bips. So if you would look between the 110 basis points at yung pong 99, so meron lang difference ng 10 basis points. So in effect, if we are now at triple B plus, that would be our interest payments savings, no? So when we look at it, just for our commercial issuances, that would run until 2022, savings of about 3 billion pesos at the list, no? Kasi we're just talking here of our commercial bond issuances. So we are also going to reap this savings coming from our own issuances in the local market because we will have sustained yung pong downward trend sa inflation. So even the cost of funding bababa. Now, pangalawa po, we are also seeing the influx of more foreign participation in the onshore market. Bakit po? Kasi yung iba pong mga foreign investors, they have very stringent investment guidelines. They will not go to an economy na hindi po bumababa sa triple B na ang rating. So with a triple B plus, we're able to throw the net far and wide to catch more fish into our pond of borrowing. So, pangatlo po, yung even the private sector, they're also going to reap the lower cost of borrowing because we all know the national government, tayo po yung tinatawag na benchmark. So if we borrow at this level, even the private sector would also be reducing their own borrowing costs. So what does it mean? Then they'll be able to have more capital expenditures to produce more jobs. And even the foreign participation, because hindi lang po ito yung mga portfolio investments that would be coming, yung nag-i-invest po sa ating fixed income and sa stocks, but more so, the more permanent investments that we would want to attract yung mga FDIs. So that means more jobs and that would create also higher employment for our people. So again, that virtuous cycle na nasabi po nila Secretary Dominguez at ni Deputy Governor Diwa. So, para po sa amin sa Treasury and to all the staff in government, this is more inspiring for us. Kasi po, all the fruits of our labor, nag-bring out na po ng results. And we are more challenged, but at the same time, more inspired to deliver more reforms and at the same time, really make it up to the coveted A rating na we are all also aspiring for. Maraming salamat po.